Okay, Seth, so you started off early into sales and then transitioned to entrepreneurship. What would you tell someone in their early 20s to gear them up for success?
Make sure they've truly mastered sales. Make sure you know the business. You better have a really good understanding of the business that you're in. But the very most important thing is identify your edge. If you don't have an edge, there's no reason to compete.
All right, guys, welcome to today's show. We got a special guest right now. I got the most attractive person that's been on this podcast to date, right? This is a good friend of mine. He's one of our Brotherhood members. He coaches with us and trains with us here. And welcome, Seth Berge, to the show.
Good to be here, man. That was a little too kind, but I'll take it.
I know. I like to make him feel a little uncomfortable because he's so damn good looking. You know what I'm saying? But guys, we got something very special for you here today, right? We're going to be talking here on an upbringing, right? Seth has been very, very successful, and he owns multiple companies, businesses, and he's a serial entrepreneur. He's got that entrepreneurial mindset. Some of you guys want to get into entrepreneurship. Some of you guys don't really understand what it takes to become that individual, or some of the lessons that Seth has been able to learn. So we're going to start uncovering a little bit more on what led him to the position that he's at right now, how he's been able to make millions of dollars a year in there, and we're going to just give you massive amounts of value. So let's begin. So Seth, talk to me, man. I know we were talking a little bit off camera. I want you to kind of just so more people can resonate and normalize, because when people hear like, oh, this guy makes millions of dollars, they're like, well, I can never be that person. So I want you to kind of like humanize yourself and just normalize yourself a little bit, because right, a lot of people are making millions of dollars, and just kind of tell us a little bit more about what led you to that. Like, first start off like, to be a serial entrepreneur means you're very competitive. Business is the most competitive sport out there. And kind of go over like what led you there, what got you started, maybe starting from high school, what sports you play, like, and what led you to that type of mindset.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought up sports because that has been one of the biggest parts of my life. I'm still a sports fanatic. I follow it, I play it. I've got two sons who are very involved with sports. But yeah, grew up as an athlete growing up. I went to a real small school, but I played basketball and baseball there. Was pretty good at it, and ended up going to a college, a small Division III college, and ended up playing both collegiate basketball and baseball. So sports is a huge part of my upbringing. I would say it's one of the biggest parts of my entrepreneurial spirit too. That's where my competitive fire and my wanting to win comes in. But yeah, I played basketball, baseball, Division III. So I was definitely not a pro, but like anybody that plays Division III, the reason you're playing Division III sports is because you love it. You're not getting paid to play. Playing sports, being competitive is a huge part of what's driven me in sales and entrepreneurship.
Okay. And like, while you were playing sports, like, how did you handle losing a game?
I didn't like to lose. I'm competitive. I didn't like to lose. I mean, no good athlete or competitor likes to lose. I feel like I've always felt this way. Preparation. If you lose or if you get beat by somebody, sometimes somebody's just better than you, but you certainly don't want it to be because you didn't prepare very well. So I was always pretty obsessive about knowing that a lot of what happens in the actual game comes from how hard you worked in the off season, how much you worked in, at your craft, how much time you spent in the gym. If it was basketball, how much shooting you did. So I don't take losing very well. But as an athlete, my dad always told me this too. It's like, obviously you want to win as much as you can, but there's something to be, you don't want to be a sore loser too. So I've always thought, I was never one of those kids that would just cry after we'd lose or get too, I wouldn't get too down. But part of that reason is I've always thought of looking at losing and as you try to find out why you lost. It's kind of like in business. I know this is a very common mantra, but it's true. If you fail in business, you got to look at it as, what did you learn, right? And I'm sure we'll talk about this, but not everything I've ever done has worked. I've had multiple failed businesses, but I feel like I've learned as much from losing in business, and I think that applies to sports too. If somebody beats you, it's like, okay, what did they do? Why are they better than you? Or why did that team win? What do we need to do to make sure that doesn't happen again? So I would say, being an ex-athlete, I know I'm not the only ex-athlete turned entrepreneur, but I think there's a reason why people that were athletes and played sports tend to excel in business and entrepreneurship, because of their competitive spirit and learning not to get too high and too low. And I really, especially with failure, I just there's things that I've done and that have happened to me, lost money, bad investments that would maybe break a lot of people. And I'm not saying it feels good, but I'd like to think that my many years of playing multiple sports has kind of also taught me how to lose in a good way too. Mindset and perspective.
That's awesome. And that's really powerful. And the reason why I asked that question too, because a lot of people, when they get into the entrepreneurial space, like, they'll get like fear of rejection or they'll have fear of failure, right? And I feel like sports just does such a phenomenal job to cultivate that mindset, to understand like, hey, listen, this is not just that I lost, I just found another successful way that didn't work. Why didn't it work? And it really helps you with problem solving too, especially in the entrepreneur space.
For sure.
Now, so you played through high school and college?
Yep.
Okay. And then when did you feel like, okay, like what did you go to college for?
I went to college. Originally, the first school I went to, I thought I was going to be a sports journalist. That's what I wanted to do. Yeah. So I don't know how far back you want to go, but I grew up, I had a very unique growing up story. I grew up in the middle of nowhere in North Dakota. My dad's a big grain farmer.
Really?
Wheat, soybeans, corn. So I grew up an hour away from even a town big enough to have a Walmart.
Whoa.
Like middle of nowhere. We didn't even have like a drive-through movie theater, nothing like that. Okay. So sports was kind of everything, sports and then working on the farm. So growing up, I grew up in the middle of nowhere, but the thing that I followed religiously, which back in those days was like the daily newspaper, a little bit of sports highlights. I always loved sports. I always loved professional sports, college sports. I loved writing, reading. That's what I was good at. And I thought I was going to be a sports journalist. I thought I might be an anchor on Sports Center or even even the local news. I was good at writing. That was like the thing I was really good at in school. So I went to my first college to be a sports journalist. I didn't work out the basketball team. I didn't work out with the coach, so I transferred schools. And that school did not have a sports journalism major, so I decided to get into business. So I got a business degree, and that kind of changed a lot of things for me. I started changing my mindset. But what really changed the whole trajectory of my life was the summer after I turned 19, I found a door-to-door job. So a friend of mine started selling things door-to-door, and at that time, you're kind of, if you're trying with part-time jobs, you're, in the early 2000s, it's like, do I work retail for $8 an hour? Do I work a warehouse for $11 an hour? None of that sounded very fun to me. I just really don't like trading money for time, even though I didn't really realize that at the time. And then I heard a couple of my buddies were doing door-to-door sales, and I was like, I think I'm going to be good at that because I was good at talking. Knocked on a door, sold the first thing. I made at that time, $30. But I made it in 10 minutes.
Wow, that's
so I was like, that would be the equivalent of working however many hours in a crappy retail job.
$180.
Yeah, whatever it was. And then I went on for another hour, sold 4 deals. I made $120 in an hour and a half.
Wow.
That was it. It was lights out. I've never worked for anything other than commission since then. I just started adding higher
And that was your first sales position?
First sales position, door knocking, selling oil change coupon cards for $50 for a local auto shop that's like, buy this for $50, two free oil changes that pays for itself. It was a pretty easy pitch, and we kept $25 or $30 of it. And I did that for half a summer, and I just started thinking okay, if I'm good at this, there's got to be things that I can sell that cost more, that pay me more. And then, believe it or not, I started being one of those door-to-door meat salesmen.
No way.
I drove around every summer for 4 years in a meat truck. Swear to God.
Gosh.
And but that was a higher ticket. Those are $150 to $500 bulk purchases. So you're making $100 to $200 a sale. And I got so good at that, I was making $800 a day at 20, 21 years old. And again, I'm old. This is 2003, 4, 5. So that is real. That's real money. So I supported myself through college, playing 2 sports. I didn't really have time to work during the school year, so I just went balls to the wall during the summer. And then I would take the 30 grand that I was making selling meat, and then I started flipping cars. So I would buy a car that I liked, I'd find a really good deal on it, and then I would post it for 2 grand more. And in the meantime, in between class, I'd be on Auto Trader finding a deal that I could flip again. So I'd sell it, take that money, and I was just flipping cars.
Really?
Yeah.
So you've always had that entrepreneur.
I
feel like you didn't even know.
I didn't even really know it. No, sales, obviously sales. But I guess the car flipping was pretty much straight, buy low, sell high. Just, trying to find ways to make a buck.
Make profits.
Yeah, to make profits, yeah.
That's incredible. Yeah. And I feel like that type of hustle, you see.
Hustle would be a good word, yeah.
Yeah, it's
hustle,
you're legit hustling.
Yeah.
But the thing is, you were also identifying as someone like, dude, I'm good. I can do this.
Yeah.
Like, it's not like you were even questioning, like, would that work? You're just like, I'm just going to do it.
I can do it. Yeah.
Right.
And if somebody can do it, I can do it. Yeah.
And you see, a lot of people, for those of you that are listening right now, you might think like, man, well, I don't know how to make money. This guy was like saying, well, look, I have this money saved. Let me go buy this car. I'm going to figure out another way to sell something else because this is something that someone needs. And if I can get a deal on it, I can make some profit and make more income. But you didn't allow that to slow you down.
Yeah.
So why'd you leave? When did you leave the meat?
Yeah, so I went to school, 22 and a half, whatever, when I finished, and it was time to get a real job, right? I had a business degree. I don't want to discourage anybody, but college is kind of bullshit. That degree did me nothing. I just did it so I could go to school. I knew I was good at sales, so I started at, as soon as I was done, as soon as I graduated, even that summer after graduating, because I always want to be making money, I would drive my meat truck to job interviews. I was looking for like a big boy sales job, and I was very picky. I knew I was good. Like, I don't care what some corporate person thinks if I was too young. Like, I'm good, and I had some rules. I didn't want to keep door knocking. That was my thing. I'm like, I'm not doing cold calling anymore. I didn't want to work nights and weekends because I wanted to have a life. So I probably did 30, 40 job interviews. I got offered all of them but one. It was a pharmaceutical job I was too young for. But I got offered all these jobs. If there's always, they wanted me to cold call or they wanted me to work nights and weekends. And I finally answered an ad in a newspaper, again, to date myself. This is like 2005, maybe 2006, when I was just finished with college. It was a small company out of Tupelo, Mississippi that was looking for a sales rep to run dinner seminars selling like energy efficient aluminum attic insulation through dinner seminars. So it was straight commission. I think the ad said something like, work 3 days a week, make 6 figures. And I'm like, well, that sounds interesting. Because that was kind of the holy grail at that time. You know, if you can make $100,000. And I knew it. I was not going to work for less than $100,000 because I could sell meat if I wanted to. I could have worked 5-6 days a week, treated like.
You're making me sound old because, when I was like in my teens, right? Yeah. Making $100,000 was a big deal.
It was a big deal.
I mean, this is like early 2000s. Yeah. Right.
It was a big deal. So I knew that I could make. I knew that I needed to make minimum $100,000 because I could do that selling meat if I really wanted to. But I also did not want to sell meat door to door for the rest of my life. So took a chance. Watched some guy give a dinner seminar in rural Wisconsin. We didn't even have like camera phones then. I bought a tape recorder and listened and like recorded it, the audio. Went home, typed out the script, said yes on the phone to that company. They liked my background because the owner was a hustler too. He'd done a bunch of door-to-door stuff. He's like, yeah, I'll take a chance on you. And then the company set me up for doing dinner seminars, and I got really good at that too. Long story short, I got really good at that higher ticket sale. I was making $300,000 a year when I was 23 years old, and then I started making $500,000 by the time I was 25, which again in 2008 is a lot of money for a 25-year-old.
Were you working more days or still working the 3 days?
Less. It was the easiest job ever. It was drive out to the seminar Monday night, do the seminar, run leads all day. You'd bust your balls Tuesday, 8 a.m. to 9 p.m., and then you do that again Wednesday, but you're done Wednesday evening every single week, just done. And I'd make, $5-10 grand a week as a kid, basically a kid, not a kid, but so yeah, that was part of my journey. I did that gig, built some sales guys underneath me, and then when I was like 29-ish, me and another guy from that organization, we said, you know what, we have everything we need to just do this on our own. And there was some infighting at the top anyways. We could kind of see that there was the culture of the company was going down a little bit. So at like 29, I think I was like 29 years old, we said, let's just do this on our own. And we got like 22 sales guys under us, and it was good for a while. And that's kind of my start in entrepreneurship. And I kind of got burned because we had 22 guys who were spending $100,000 a week in marketing, and then the product we were selling became available online and at like the local Lowe's and Home Depot. So we were selling it for quite a bit because you couldn't get it anywhere. And then all of a sudden it's everywhere. So we probably lost like $500,000 before we decided to pull the plug.
And that was in how long?
That was probably, that was like over the course of 6 months or so, a year. It's just like all of a sudden all this money we're paying. And I was also young and dumb too. I didn't really pay attention to the books. My business partner was doing that, and all of a sudden it's like, we don't have any money anymore. And the downside of that is it really did put me in a funk from age 30 till my late 30s, because I was like, I'm better off on my own. I'll just be a lone wolf. So I continued to do dinner seminars for my own self, making a ton of money. I say a ton of money, making maybe $700 to $1 million a year. But I just was too scared to grow maybe too lazy to
And
like
you're
build a
doing
team.
dinner seminars for the same product or for something else, right?
I did the same product for a few years, and then I switched to walk-in bathtubs. Same dinner model, but selling these $15,000 walk-in bathtubs, hiring an installer to go do it. So I was a lone wolf for a while, doing just fine, but I was kind of in a stunted mindset. I was kind of jaded from. I was like, last time I tried to grow and build, it ended up biting me. But I mean, in hindsight, I was an idiot. You know, I wasted almost a decade thinking that way.
Right. And also a lot of time too, right?
Yeah.
Because now if you were all by yourself, you're working more than 3 days a week, or you're still.
I mean, I was still. Part of it was lazy. I was still hardly having to work because it was just me going out and doing the sales, having one installer. So I lived a good life. I'm not going to lie. I was working probably 20, 25 hours a week, making a lot of money, still into my 30s. But in hindsight, like I said, that success probably stunted me a little bit because I got comfortable. You know, Andy talks about all the time. Comfort is the worst thing you can have. That definitely describes me from late 20s.
And did you have a lot of people saying, "Hey, man, you're doing so good. Hey, good job." Like,
yeah,
the people you're hanging out with, they weren't making as much money as you.
So that's the other thing too. Like I will say, I was always the most successful person in my peer group by quite a bit. Which can be cool, right? Because everybody wants to be around you. I was the first one to buy a house. I always had the nice cars. We threw all the parties. That's fine. I don't regret that. But what I should have done is looked for mentors. I should have looked for people that were more successful because I just thought, well, this is it. You know, I don't need. This is the top of the top. And then as I got older in my 30s, late 30s, you start seeing some of the people that you kind of knew socially. A few of them start to level up. It's like, oh, these guys are owning businesses. These guys they're making millions now. This guy just bought a house on the lake. Like all of a sudden, when you start to get a little bit older, you're like, I'm no longer the top of the top, and that's where the athletics background comes in, where it's just more like a competitive thing. Like that guy doesn't have anything that I don't have. You know, this guy that maybe I knew that was, kind of took off a lot further than I was. It's like if that guy can do it, he's not the salesperson I am. He doesn't have the physical tools. So that was part of where the athletic background has definitely helped me. It just took me too long to get there, but a big part of why I started to level up was just like, if that guy can do it, what's wrong with me? It's time to like shake yourself out of this funk. Like, go get life. It's there. Like, 100%. The only thing stopping it from happening is me.
Yeah.
So,
and I want you guys to listen here because like this is a pivotal moment where Seth was like really looking at himself in the mirror and understanding that even though he felt like he was the best in his group or the highest earner, he was living a good life, like that is like a cancer, right?
Yeah.
Like, and we teach this a lot. We tell a lot of people, you got to be a good gatekeeper of your mind.
Yep.
Like you have to be very careful if people say, hey, you're doing so good.
Yep.
You're doing this. Because why? It will stunt you.
Yep.
And then you stop growing. And then, yes, he's making money, but if you can hear it in his voice, were you 100% fulfilled?
No.
He wasn't fulfilled. He was dealing with like this identity thing that he knows he had more in him. He knew he had more potential in him. Maybe he didn't feel it right away, but as the years started going by, he's like, dude, like, like his talent, he has way more potential. And this is why it's so important to get mentorship. It's so important to find groups of people that are doing really incredible things too, so you can engage in those types of conversations. So then you can have those moments where you're like, whoa, okay, like you're right. Like I need to be doing better. I need to be pushing myself more. Right?
100%.
So I love that. So kind of walk me. So before that, when did you actually start? I know you just started really like taking off in the last couple of years, right?
Yeah.
When did you actually start looking into owning your own businesses? Like after that?
Yeah. So like I said, I did own. I've always owned my own business when I was like 29, 30, or maybe I had one partner, but I didn't. I really only owned these. The reality is I owned the home improvement company, the walk-in tub company, the financial services company. I just did it so I could keep all the commission. It wasn't because, I'm trying to build a business and scale it up. It was just, I don't want to pay anybody else any part of what I take in. So that was really my only, it's such a limited mindset thinking back.
Right.
It was just like how much money if I sell a walk-in bathtub for $15,000, I want to keep all the profit. I don't want to have to give it to somebody. That was really my only motivation for owning these businesses, was because I was really just a glorified, really freaking good salesperson. I would say within 2 years ago, and I'm not just trying to plug you guys and Andy, but I got connected with Andy maybe a year and a half, 2 years ago. I was things were going really well, like starting to like grow without me really having a total mindset shift. I was getting better, maybe just part of maturing. But quite honestly, when I ran into Andy, I got introduced to Andy. I had never, ever given any thought to anybody in the guru space at all. I kind of always just thought like those sales guys, I don't need them. I could write a book on closing, which is probably true. I never read a sales book. I'm just really freaking good at sales. But what I know now that I didn't know then, which you asked me earlier off camera, like, what do you wish you would have known 10 years ago? That, yeah, sales skills are amazing. I would tell anybody, learn how to sell, learn how to sell, learn how to sell. But the mindset, I didn't have any type of mindset for, excellence or growth or scaling. And, once I kind of got introduced to Andy and I got in that sphere and then you start following other people, it's just been like I consume it. It consumes me all day, but in a good way. Because there's other things, as you know, that can consume you that aren't healthy. And I was probably spending way too much time on that stuff in my 30s because I was making enough money that I was comfortable, didn't have to work that much. And that's why I said I kind of wasted a decade of talent.
Too much fun.
Too much fun. And I still have fun, of course, but it's I have kids now. But you know what I'm saying? It was just the mindset it was just work, make enough money so you can have some fun. That's just not it anymore. Now it's like build something, have a legacy. I also love helping people. Now I'm all about teams. That's the other thing that I learned from being around you guys. I never really thought about. Andy always talks about you've got to get a team. You've got your team around here. That has been a huge shift for me. I really get a lot out of bringing people along with me. I've brought some young guys that I've mentored, that I'm currently mentoring. I've got some of my friends that I've started having, bringing into my businesses, and I really do get a lot of joy from bringing people along, and I'm just getting started too. So I would love to have an enormous team. I probably have about 15 to 20 between admin and sales guys, and I guess if you had asked me 4 years ago, I would have said that's huge, but I feel like that's just the beginning.
Yeah, like you have way more in you.
There's nothing I can't do. Yeah.
And if you guys are really paying attention, I would also advise you guys, make sure you're taking some notes because he's dropping some really good nuggets right now for those of you right now that are maybe in a sales position. You're looking to get into the entrepreneur space, right? Like, look what he said. He said, what would he tell his younger self? Like, definitely get really good at sales. Like, get better, train. Because he just had natural talent. And, of course, he learned certain scripts. Like, he was smart. Even though he said he didn't read books, like, dude, he was recording people, playing it, learning scripts, learning word tracks. Like, he was training in a way, but he wasn't actively seeking mentorship, which that is so important. Like, if you're looking to compress the time frame and learn from people who have been where you're at and they're where you want to go, you want to search and find someone. Like, like, forget about us for a second. Like, it doesn't even have to be the Elliott group, right? It could just be anyone that you really like. Like, you can like just about anyone that you resonate with, but you can decide who that person is and then go all in on that, right? Because the mindset portion, I feel like one of the most important things when you're looking to scale yourself and a company is mindset. 100%. It's your identity. Yep. I feel like business and sales is 80% mindset.
It is. Yep. And I never, ever would have said that even 2 years ago. You wake up every day, and I'm going to regurgitate things that we've all heard, but it's like you versus you. That's really what it is. I wake up. I'm not going to act like I wake up and run out of bed like excited. I wake up, groggy. I'm like, it's another day of battle. Like, all right, you're going to war again. It's time. Every day is like, when you're an entrepreneur. I now do have, like I said, 15 to 20 people that depend on me, multiple businesses. There's going to be something that comes up that day. I've got to be ready, right? I mean, no matter what you put on your to-do list, when I always do a to-do list, that gets hijacked every day by putting out a fire here or there that you weren't expecting. And maybe, even because I'm relatively new to like having the scale of what I'm doing, that probably drained on me a lot more even 6 to 9 months ago than it does now. Like now, really? It's just, and so, the advice would be to anybody out there, especially new people, it can seem overwhelming. Like I was more stressed, and it affected me. I still wouldn't change it for anything maybe a year ago, when I was getting used to this new me, this new, like, every single day is a day to go get. Whereas before it was, what do I need to sell today to make the money that I want to make? Now it's like every day I need to be going. I'm building my empire and building my legacy for my kids, my business, to live the life I want to bring people with. That can be taxing. So it took me a little while to get comfortable with that. You know, I had some tough days where it's like, man, am I really cut out for this? Or wouldn't it be easier if I just went back to just doing what I did before? It's not like I lived a bad life. But no, it's having a purpose too, and having something to live for. You know, what do they say? Idle hands can be, I forget the saying.
Idle time, or that was an idle time?
Something, the point is, if you don't have anything to look forward to, that's where you can get, distracted. Yeah, and you know, you can pick up bad things too. So that's a part of it. But I do remember having a conversation with my dad, maybe 4 years ago. So it didn't happen. What's happening now didn't necessarily happen then, but I started to get a mindset shift. I remember telling him when I was back in North Dakota on the farm about some new business ventures I was going into. They didn't end up working, but I was starting to get the idea of you should be doing a little bit more. I remember telling him, I said, Dad, if I'm in this game of business ownership, I'm clearly, I was probably 37, 38 at the time. Like, clearly this is what I am. I'm never going to be corporate America. So it's like, I told him, I said, I'm going to just start dominating. Like, I've been playing half-ass, playing good enough. It's like, it's time I'm actually gonna compete to win. And it didn't happen right away, but I looking back, it's like that was kind of, I still remember that conversation. And I was like, I'm gonna go for it. There's nothing stopping me from getting whatever's out there in whatever I do. And that's still every day, what I have to remind myself is like, you're in this, you're competing. That's kind of what I look at business and entrepreneurship, sales. For those of you guys that are watching that are sales guys, the reason I was pretty good at sales, I think, was because every single time I was on a sales call, like in person or whatever, I looked at it like, okay, clean slate, the score is 0-0. Either they're selling me or I'm selling them. I wanted to win every single winnable moment. So every lead that I ran from a dinner seminar the night before, I took it personal, like, as an athlete, like, somebody's going to win this. Somebody's going to win this. They're either going to give an excuse about why they can't buy, or I'm going to show them the value. So that's kind of that competitive spirit. I've now really taken it not to just sales, but to this whole game of entrepreneurship and business. It really is. That's kind of what drives me. It's not just, oh, you need more money. What isn't X amount good enough? Yeah, I suppose it is. I mean, it's not about, oh, I need to get to X amount of millions more, then I can buy a bigger boat or whatever. It really is like, I'm competing in the game. I'm only 42. I've got years and years and years left of playing the game. What's the point of playing the game if you're not trying to win? That's one of my biggest mindset shifts too. Is like, if you're going to be in the game, freaking play it, and why not try to win? And win doesn't mean you're Jeff Bezos or Elon Musk or whatever. I mean, just the businesses you start, the ideas you do, the promises you make, follow through, do them.
That's good. Yeah, don't be a spectator. Be a participator.
Don't be a spectator, yeah. And again, it's not greed. I'm not going to say I don't like money and nice things. We're talking about my shoes and all that. But the more success you have, the bigger you build your team, the more people, the more lives you change. Mm-hmm. And you can't do that if you yourself stay stagnant. So sometimes people don't get entrepreneurship. Haters are like, oh, this guy just wants more and more and more. It's like, well, I want to bring more people with me too.
100%. Yeah. And that's super important because a lot of us too, like, I make really good money here. Like, Andy makes really good money. Like, our team does too. Seth does too. Like, we're all performing at a really high level, and we're looking to climb the ranks and, like, really, like, start doing some more things. But the goal isn't about making money. Like, we didn't do this to make money. Do we make money? Yes. But it's like, you got to look at money as like a direct reflection of how good you are and how many people you're helping. Yep. If you're getting better every day and you're helping people, that equals money. It's going to happen, right? It's just going to happen. Yep. So you just want to, like, have the right intentions. It's not about you, right? It's not. And I think, like, and I love what you're saying right now because I can see, like, how you've had these pivotal moments and the change in mindset too. Is like, dude, I made the money. Yep. And honestly, like, it was good, but it's like, you're also searching for something else. And I feel like you're finding more purpose, more fulfillment in your life where you get to wake up, you're like, yeah, you know what? I got people depending on
Yeah.
me. And it feels good because I'm helping them change their life.
Yep.
And they deserve to know what this feels like, right? Because you're bringing more people on.
Yep.
And I think that's super important as an entrepreneur. You also have to, like I was having a conversation with someone today. I'm like, dude, look at the position you're in right now. Don't you feel more people deserve to know what this feels like?
Yeah.
So shouldn't you be actively recruiting people that you see out there instead of just filling things out in Indeed? Like go to a restaurant, find someone who's busting their ass, right? Having a heart, like has a great attitude and a smile, even when they're getting yelled at, but they're still working hard.
Yeah.
Those are potential prospects and people you could be recruiting
100%.
onto your team.
Yep.
Right?
Yeah.
And you're also given an opportunity to make a lot more money than making $3,000 a month. They could be doing that a week. In
I
sales.
hired, I told you this, but I hired a kid that was, not a kid, he was 23 at the time, but he was serving tables at one of the dinner seminars I was doing a few years ago. And I just believed in him, just the way he was carrying himself. And I got him to quit it. He's like, it was like the Wolf of Wall Street thing. Like, I quit my job, I work for you. And that's basically what I did. And now he's super successful. I've actually partnered in a business with him. He's still a sales guy for me, but he's partnered in a business. He's 26 now, but he'll be the first to tell you, like, I changed his life. And I'm not saying that to brag, but just like, that makes me feel good because he's like, he was a nurse, and he's like, I'd never seen more than $50,000 a year. I just figured I'd be a nurse forever, and maybe I'll get a raise to get $60,000 or $70,000 a year. And again, not that it's all about money, but he had the inkling of mindset was this isn't good enough. So when he saw me do my seminars, he heard what we were talking about. He was interested in the stem cell thing. I was looking for somebody to replace myself in that state. I just kind of went there to open it up, and I was like, all right, this guy, I'm going to put some time into him. And he's still with me. He's awesome, and that type of stuff feels good.
Yeah, amazing. Yeah, of course it does, especially when you can help build someone too.
Yep.
So let's get into stem cells now.
Yeah.
So we covered everything, how you got there, your mindset and everything, how everything changed, how you got into the entrepreneur world. And it sounds like, well, your stem cells, you do dinner seminars.
Yes.
So did you get that from the air conditioning?
100%. Yeah.
That is interesting.
So the home improvement thing, I'll just throw in real quick. I also did 4.5 years of financial planning. So after the walk-in tubs, I got my license and I did dinner seminars to get financial clients. I was selling, high commission annuities and life insurance. So I was good at that too. But about 8 years ago now, 7.5, 8 years ago, one of my partners from the home improvement thing went to a marketing conference down in Florida where a chiropractor turned marketer was, I don't know the conference, but he was a speaker, and his whole thing was he was selling a business in a box of stem cells. He's like, this is the next thing. This is for entrepreneurs, medical people, whatever. And then my old partner came back because we still stayed in touch even though we weren't in business together anymore. He's like, hey man, I think we should take a look at this, doing the dinner seminar model. He's like, that's not what he was necessarily talking about, but he's like, the margins, if you can buy the cells for this, sell them for that, the margins are there. It probably fits into our model. So he nudged me. I'll give him credit. He nudged me along a little bit, and then because I was doing well with the financial services. I mean, I was making $900,000 a year doing that and not working all that hard. But I said, you know what? I think I will. I don't want to get left behind because he was going to do it with or without me. So I was like, all right. Let's explore this. I still had one foot in the door of the other thing, and then the first few seminars that went down, we didn't do anything, and then we completely changed everything. Turned it more into sales and relational instead of talking about the science of stem cells. Mm-hmm. And then we absolutely crushed the week 4 when we completely redid it. Just crushed it. I mean, we made like $110,000 profit from one dinner seminar. I was like,
one night.
So I was like, okay,
Whoa.
I think I'll start putting my attention to that. So we plugged and played the same general model where we do direct mail around a restaurant in a community where we mail to a certain demographic, like 55 to 85-year-old homeowners. They RSVP. We do 2 nights at a restaurant in a private room where we pitch, in the stem cells and all the benefits. And then the whole goal of that is the one-to-many approach. Instead of knocking on a door or doing a Zoom call where you're starting from scratch every time, you get to talk to like 20 couples, so 20 potential customers. And then we use the dinner seminar to get the one-on-one appointment. So we would go right into their home, the same way we would do it in the home improvement days where we'd go in the home because we had to measure stuff. Mm-hmm. We were like, why make them drive to a clinic? Why don't we just come right to them? Like, let's remove every barrier that somebody would have, every excuse that they'd have to canceling an appointment. Let's make it we're going to come right to your house the next day, and we'll talk to you one-on-one about the stem cell and what might work. So that's what we did. That was a huge shift, and it just took off. And then also, instead of having like brick and mortar clinics where the treatments would get done, we're like, what if we took the nurse practitioners and the doctors and just sent them to the homes of these people? Then that's one less thing that these people have to physically do to complete the treatment. So you're always trying to remove every barrier to saying yes. So the first barrier was, we want to buy them dinner so they'll listen to us. That's been working forever in a lot of things. And the second barrier was, we found out when we were having them go to a location to do the consult, a lot of them were canceling. Because if they're on the fence, some 75-year-old might be like, you know what, I don't know if I'm that serious to drive across traffic for 30 minutes each way. I think I'll just no-show. So we're like, well, we'll just go to you. Lot harder to make an excuse why you can't be home when you say you're going to be home. And then the third thing was, and this is part of my big business model now, is concierge medicine. There's no reason that we're talking injections and IVs. You don't need to be in a doctor's office to do that. So we just started hiring mobile nurse practitioners, paying them on a per patient basis. So after we make the sale, we would tell the people, you don't have to go anywhere. We're going to call you, a few days in advance, and
super convenient.
We're just going to come right to you. So
there's no resistance.
And then also, and this is part of my big thing that I always tell people, that was our edge. So any type of business you're in, if you're looking to get an entrepreneurship, why would somebody do business with you versus somebody else? I don't think that you need to invent a new product or a new service necessarily, right? If you can, that's great. Those are visionaries. But what is it about what you are doing, in whatever industry there's, what makes you stand out? So for us, it was, we're going to educate you with dinner seminars, and then we're going to bring this stuff right to you. And there's nobody else doing that. So the seminar business took off.
Wow.
Yep.
That's incredible.
So I'm still in that. I've got multiple guys. I've helped co-found maybe a dozen of these seminar spinoffs. I supply all of them stem cell products. So I'm also on the distribution side. I now partner with some guys at Platinum Biologics, and we make the products, and then we supply it to doctors and seminar groups like that. So that's kind of.
And that's that entrepreneurial mindset.
Yeah. So
you're like, you know what? I'm doing something, but hey, I could teach other people to do this too. And you know what? They're gonna have to buy from someone.
Well, yeah. I mean, for
the
first few years in this space, I was buying it, through some other distributor. So then I took the cash that I'd been making and started having the product made myself.
Amazing.
So then I've got the best product, and because I buy, we do like $1.5 million buys at a time. So then we get our product costs low enough so that there's good margins, but we're still lower than the competition. That was a huge level up, and
wow.
Part of that was possible mindset. Some of it is just time. Like, you've got to have you have to have some sort of a good reputation in the industry, so people knew that I was in the industry, good at it, and I saw the opportunity. I remember like thinking with my partners at Platinum, we're like, that's a lot of money. $1.5 million. I was like, I've got it, but boy, that is putting a lot of eggs in a basket, and that was a big risk. But that's probably been one of the best wins I've ever done. Is now I'm very heavily in the distribution side, so I've got dozens and dozens and dozens of, probably close to 100 buyers, wholesale of the product. That's not counting when
retail.
Tom, Dick, or Harry decides to spend $5,000 on a knee injection. That's a separate side of the business.
Wow.
So, yeah.
So you're literally like taking over.
I'm like the plug.
The plug.
The plug.
The stem cell plug.
The stem cell plug. And also.
Yeah, we'll make sure we drop his Instagram too,
Yeah.
so you guys can also follow him and, and also ask him questions. Like, I had a chest tear. I was lifting some really heavy weight. I got to work
Kind
out,
of heavy.
work
Kind of
out
heavy
these
weight.
big arms, you know what I'm saying? But, I was lifting a little too heavy and ego lifting. And when I was pushing, I felt like kind of like a pop. And I'm like, oh, wow. And every single time I would push, I would feel this sharp pain. I'm like, oh, no. And then we were having like this huge event with David Goggins, and you were there. Seth comes to all of our events and brings a nurse and everything. He brings and takes care of our guys. And they injected me with stem cells right in there. And within 2 weeks, I was able to start benching 245 on incline for like 10 reps. Yeah. I'm like, this thing is the most amazing invention in the world.
It works.
But you could definitely take care of you. We'll make sure we drop the Instagram. But to wrap this up here, Seth, you know, you talked about so many great things, and I'm just going to recap here. You know, he talked about how he got into sales. He found something that he was really passionate in. You know, if you're a competitive person and you feel like you're not competing in life, you're not going to feel fulfilled. That is number one. Yeah. That was something that he was experiencing right when he was in his 30s. He played sports. He was a competitor. He was always in sales. Like, yes, he was like competing in that area, but then he became stagnant because the thing is, as a competitor, you could be doing something, but if you feel like you're not growing, you're going to experience what he was feeling. It's like, hey, I'm making money, but it's like, okay, like, yeah, this is cool, but what else is there? Like, what's next, right? And as competitors and people in business and in entrepreneurs, we're always looking for the next thing to like get us excited, the next mountain we want to climb, right? And then, you know, we also talked about mindset, finding the right mentor, finding a right coach. Guys, listen, if you are the biggest person in your group and you're a competitor and someone that's in business or in entrepreneurship, it's going to get old very fast. Like, you need to compete with people. One of our teammates here, Evan Macklin, right? One of the twins. I went up to him yesterday. I'm like, dude, you know what? You're the only person I could compete with. Let's compete today. All right? And I'll give it to him. He did beat me yesterday, right? But he went psycho. And he messaged me late last night. He's like, Tommy, thank you so much. Thank you for coming up to me because you got me on fire, right? You need people to compete with, people that are going to push you, right? And I think that's super important to find like that really good circle of individuals that are going to influence you to be better.
What's that saying? If you're the richest person in the room or the smartest person in the room, you're in the wrong room. Yeah. I wish I would have, you know, if I could tell myself something from 10 years ago, I would have gotten around your type of group. So that's partly what drives me is I brought my team. You've seen I brought, you know, my team here to many of these events. It's like, and I've told them, like this guy was talking about Jason, the waiter. I'm like, man, if I would have seen what, you know, been around this, you know, we went to a master closer event. I was like, if I would have seen what you just saw at 25, I'd probably be I'd be probably worth $100 million right now. So he's grateful of it, but I truly mean that. Like for some of these younger guys that are in sales, I'm like, you're going to fast track a whole decade of waste that I had just by having the mindset being around it. I truly believe that. And this comes from somebody who's never bought a sales book. And I'm not saying not to buy sales books. In fact, I tell my guys that I hire, read the books. I was just one of those unicorns that just, I don't know how I did it, just door knocking.
He just woke up with incredible talent, potential, and this good looking, bro.
Read the books.
You can't be like this guy over here.
Shortcut. The shortcuts are read the books, do the training, get yourself a mentor, get yourself in groups of people that are where you want to be. This brotherhood that we're in, it's awesome having entrepreneurial guys. I mean, bouncing ideas off each other. That is so big. So big.
It's amazing, man. Yeah. I mean, he really touched on that a lot and did it very well. Well, guys, listen, thank you so much for tuning in. If you guys want to follow Seth, where can they follow you on Instagram?
So my personal Instagram, which I mix personal and business, it's Seth D. Berge, SETHDBERGE. If you go to gotstemcells.com, right here, gotstemcells.com, you can read about and see about what we offer as far as getting stem cell treatment to your home or office. So gotstemcells.com would be a good website. But if you want to follow me, see what I'm doing, Seth D. Berge.
Yeah, give him a follow. Ask some questions. Yep. If there were some things that really resonated with you, you want to connect with him, reach out to him, right? But then also, like, don't be scared to ask some questions. Like, stem cells I'm a testimony of it. It works really, really well. And Seth is also really smart. The fact that he buys, you know, this much product is because he also gets a really good deal and offers it for a really good deal. You'll never find a price like his. And it's not like we're trying to make this a pitch fest or a sell right now, but it has changed my life. It's helped me tremendously. And for those of you that don't have good knees, maybe back problems, like elbow problems, like anything, any muscle tears, just anything that you're experiencing, you want to be free from pain, reach out to him because it will change your life. So I appreciate you, bro. Thank you so much. And guys, thanks for tuning in.